Another huge free agency signing. This one's absolutely massive for the Padres. Tanner Scott, the left-handed ace reliever last season for the Friar Faithfuls, is headed to the Dodgers. What's going on, everybody? I'm Christian Pedersen, back with another episode of Padres Digest. We'll get to all the Scott news in just a second, but I got to remind you all, if you are brand new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so I can bring you what seems to be all the doom and gloom news that is going to be this Padres. There will be good news eventually. The season will start. We will start winning games. Right now, it seems like we're taking L's in the offseason. As I said, Tanner Scott, the ace left-handed reliever who, here you can see, literally was Shohei Ohtani's kryptonite last season, was a really ace reliever in the Padres bullpen, setup, closer, combo kind of guy, absolutely unstoppable, especially for a left-handed hitter, and especially for somebody who had Shohei Ohtani's number, is now a Los Angeles Dodger. What does this mean? This means a couple of different things. This means, one, believe the Dodgers. We don't like them. We never did like them. The rich get richer, eat the rich. Two, this means the L's continue for the Padres this offseason. And I'll say this is another bad sign that the Padres not only are missing out on guys like Soto and Snell and Sasaki, who are not currently Padres, is one thing. Missing out on people who are Padres, who are currently on the Padres roster, but then are leaving to go other places. Like Ha-Seong Kim at the beginning of the season was the one that were like, oh, we're going to lose Ha-Seong Kim. Cool. It's a fan favorite, but it's bound to happen. He's a Scott Boras client. He's going to be expensive. Now it's going to be Tanner Scott, Ha-Seong Kim. We might lose Profar. We're going to lose. We lost a couple of other lower mid-tier guys, like Kyle Higashioka. Like, if the Padres take nothing but L's, you always got to now loop back to, is there a kernel of truth to the Shildt-Seidler lawsuit saying that the Seidler's brothers are not running the team following their fiduciary responsibility or following Peter Seidler's general game plan for wanting this to be a top-tier spin organization? So Tanner Scott is out. He is a Dodger. That, in the literal immediate sense, means that the Dodgers now just have another difficult-to-hit left-handed reliever added to their bullpen. But this, in general, is also infuriating because if you look at the details of the contract, it is a 4-year, $72 million contract. Okay. That's a good deal for Scott. That's relatively solid for the market, not necessarily exorbitant, outrageous, but $20 million of that is a signing bonus. Okay. Guaranteed money is always nice. Put a little something up front to incentivize a guy, but $21 million in deferred salary. So basically, they got Tanner Scott for $50 million of right now money and $20 million of what is starting to amount to be made up Dodgers monopoly money. And, every team could do this deferred money contract situation. It's not something that is only available to the Dodgers legally, but it is only available to certain teams. Bobby Bonilla Day and the Mets was the template for all of this, but it also is turning out to be an absolute joke because Bobby Bonilla's contract was, he gets $1 million a year for this stretch, whatever. Like, deferring $1 million in the 1990s was a lot, but today another $1 million is just basically what these teams spend on like the catering bill in the season. Deferring $20 million just for Tanner Scott to be a setup man is absolute absurdity. And it's getting to the point where, for as long as I'd ever been a baseball fan, I didn't want the salary cap. I liked the concept of build up a bigger, better, stronger, the Bronx Bombers, okay, great. The evil empire of the Yankees, the evil empire of the Dodgers. But now it's starting to be like, if they can just say, okay, well, our TV contracts, our seat sales, our this, that, and the other amounts to, we can amateurize this out like a mortgage and just be like, we're going to pay the 2025 team from now until 2060. And we're going to make this tomorrow's problem. And if we go bankrupt and if the TV industry falls out and all the rug gets pulled from everything, there will be problems to deal with, but it won't be any on-field problems. This guy right here throwing, 199 on the black against Shohei, you won't have a problem. Tanner Scott's going to get paid now, and if in 12 years his deferred money becomes an issue and they have to go to court and all that, that's not going to affect the on-field product, so it's not going to be a problem that will have any actual real-world consequences for anybody other than the Dodgers ownership group and Tanner Scott. So as I crawl off my soapbox, I will say this might be the straw that breaks my camel back for arguing and dying on the hill of there now needs to be a salary cap in baseball. Because as much as I would love to say the Padres can and should go out and do this, if you have every single team just starting to pay like $20 million, amortize that out, 20 deferred here, 200 deferred here, you create such a bubble that's going to burst someday of all of this, because we've seen here in San Diego specifically, it's gone from Fox Sports, from Channel 4 San Diego to Fox Sports San Diego to Bally Sports to now it's just amorphously kind of on Apple TV and streaming services. And the TV thing is not a permanent deal. So the benefits of being in one of these 3 or 4 Chicago, LA, New York, Dallas type of mega markets needs to be curbed just a little bit. So this would be a whole other video maybe, or not even a video for me, but for bigger and brighter, smarter, more financially driven minds. But this right now is frustration nation for me because of part one being the L that this represents, just appearances wise for the Padres. Part two being that this is an in-division rival that we now have to we will now have to face Tanner Scott in the 8th inning or in the 7th inning or in the or whenever Dave Roberts brings him out to face the Padres. He is going to be a tough guy to score off of. And also this represents the problem of if the Dodgers can just figure out the framework of defer money. The Padres, even if the Seidler lawsuit isn't accurate and the brothers want to spend money, the Padres might never win on another free agent ever again, because they might just not have both the here and now money and the forever money. They might just not ever. This might be indicative that the Padres are going to lose out on a lot. And I will say one more thing about Tanner Scott on the way out. The Padres had to dish 3 of our top 60 prospects to get him last season. We ultimately had him for 5 months, and then he's gone. That's a bad deal. That's a bad deal unless you win the World Series. And even if you win the World Series, I don't know how good of a rental this is. So as much as I try to promise that this will always be good news, and I'm always here to be your friendly neighborhood, hey, things are going well, Padres fans, right now, this one's a bad news video, and I apologize. We will, next time we come back, and like I said at the start of this, make sure you subscribe to Padres Digest for all of the videos that we want to drop into your feed. But next time, I promise, I will hopefully, I can't promise, but there's got to be good news eventually. P's and C's, we'll start reporting. Until then, drop a comment on what you think of this situation. Is it time for a salary cap in Major League Baseball? Until then, we'll talk to you guys soon.